Unique opportunity for us to move beyond the status quo of the current energy sources Virginians use to power their homes and businesses. As recently as March 2019, Dominion had proposed 8 new natural gas plants in its Integrated Resource Plan filed with the State Corporation Commission. With this bill, utility monopolies and the Commission will move Virginia forward by prioritizing clean, renewable energy over natural gas. This holistic approach can be a win for all Virginians. By deploying clean and renewable energy, energy storage, and energy efficiency, we create a more cost-effective means for the Commonwealth to meet its energy demands. Not only can this bill reduce long-term energy costs, it also provides the foundation for Virginia to be a national leader in clean energy job creation. As Delegate Sullivan had indicated, these investments in clean energy and the avoided cost of natural gas could save Virginians approximately $800 million by 2030. Today, Virginia employs over 100,000 workers in clean energy. With new investments in onshore wind, solar, and particularly offshore wind that we've been talking about, we're poised to see this number grow in all areas of the state. Some estimates indicate that as many as 10,000 new clean energy jobs could be created during each year of this plan. One of the things that's been addressed is how quick we go through this in just a 60-day session. And one of the things that I wanted to point out, that the development of this particular piece of legislation didn't start just this session. This bill is the accumulation of years of discussions, previous legislative proposals, and hours of discussions with multiple stakeholders. Now we have the opportunity to bring all that experience together and set Virginia on a path toward the mid-century goal of being a national leader in renewable energy, and also to do our part to address the ever-worsening issue of climate change. Madam Speaker, members of the General Assembly, I urge you to join all of us in this historic vote and support the VCEA. Thank you.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Samara.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to speak to the bill.
Delegate, you have the floor.
Madam Speaker, I want to share some truths I have been grappling with on this bill. A few weeks ago, I was watching the live stream from the Labor and Commerce Committee considering a variety of climate legislation. We saw youth advocates from the Sunrise Movement, Zero Hour, and other climate justice groups who waited for hours for their chance to engage with their elected representatives on the all-important issue of the climate crisis. Those young people who likely skipped class or work to be there stayed until 11:30 at night to explain why we are out of time for half measures. Those young people should be on all of our minds as we consider the solution put forward that aims to decarbonize our economy. The reason my generation has raised the climate issue with such urgency is because we are the ones who must grapple with the consequences of inaction. Madam Speaker, it becomes a lot harder to compromise away the ambitious policies that the scientists are calling for when it's our future, your future, and your livelihood on the line. I am constantly hearing from young people who are thinking twice about having kids, who are afraid they won't be able to live in the communities they were raised in, who are watching destructive fires in Australia and California, the lethal storms in Puerto Rico and our coastal states, the sea level rise that is already displacing indigenous communities, and are left with the unshakable knowledge that this will only get worse as they approach what should be the most meaningful years of their lives. So here's the truth number one. I support the Green New Deal, and I'm frustrated that it was written off so quickly. It's a better policy, plain and simple, and would do more to meet the needs of my generation, environmental justice communities, labor, and ratepayers. But here's truth number two. The generation of electricity only accounts for about 25% of carbon emissions in the US, according to the EPA. Transportation, on the other hand, accounts for almost a third of all emissions, and when combined with the emissions from housing, non-residential buildings, and other land use, it gets to more than half of all emissions. And we are just as far behind on land use, transportation, and housing as we are electrical generation, if not more. Making progress on this front is also going to take bold Green New Deal-sized solutions, and we're going to need them fast. That means allowing for more by right, high-density housing in desirable places to live, because high-density housing has a much smaller carbon footprint than detached housing. That means combating developmental sprawl by ending bans on multifamily housing, which is used to cut deeper and deeper into Virginia's green spaces and tree canopy. That means allowing for new social housing that can help low-income renters find affordable homes that are built sustainably. That means investing heavily in public transit like buses, rail, and bike shares, so Virginians who live in metro areas can reasonably live their life without reliance on cars and roads, which both contribute massively to carbon emissions. That means investing in sidewalks and encouraging smart design so that Virginians can live in walkable communities which are safe, healthier, and greener for all. And so here's truth number 3. If we can't use next year's session to make big, bold progress on land use policy, we will be sending a strong message to my generation that we value status quo of today more than their future, even more so than if we fail to make bold progress on electric generation. The Virginia Clean Economy Act is far from perfect. I'm sure you all know mine and the many other specific reservations by now. And if I'm being honest, I find it disrespectful to the people of Virginia that we didn't even bring the Green New Deal to a vote. But friends, with land use policy, we have another opportunity to make that right. I will capitulate to this measure today with the promise that I will fight tooth and nail for the bold climate solutions we need in the sectors of transportation, land use, and housing. And if we come to this time next year, and once again, the only option we are left with is one that falls short of what the science is calling for, and once again, the youth and marginalized people of this Commonwealth are ignored, I will not be so willing to capitulate once again. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The delegate from Newport News, Delegate Price.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I have a motion.
Delegate Price, you have the floor.
Having voted on the prevailing side by which we adopted the floor amendments, I move that we reconsider that vote.
Delegate Price moves, having voted on the prevailing side, will we pass the floor amendments from Delegate Rasoul, that we reconsider the vote. All those in favor shall say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. We'll be voting on the electronic voting board. Shall we reconsider the vote by which we pass the floor amendments on the board? Electronic. The clerk shall close the roll.
Ayes 49, nays 48, abstention 0.
Ayes 49, nays 48, abstention 0. Motion to reconsider passes. The amendments are now before us.
Madam Speaker.
Delegate from Roanoke City, Delegate Rasoul.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I hope it be the pleasure of the body to pass the floor amendments.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Delegate from Arlington, Delegate Lopez.
Madam Speaker, speaking to the floor amendments.
Delegate Lopez, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As it stands right now, this amendment would ensure, these two amendments would ensure that offshore wind is not built in Virginia. We need this industry, this new, vibrant, dynamic industry in Virginia, because we know that offshore wind will play an important role in having a decarbonized, diverse fuel mix for the electricity sector. It complements solar and battery storage, two resources that are seen as critical for fighting climate change and are in this bill. This industry presents a generational economic opportunity for Virginia and Hampton Roads and the Virginia's coast. Here's the thing. Thousands of jobs and tens of millions of dollars in investment are within our grasp. We've already seen signs of this through agreements with the Port of Virginia and the presence of global industry leaders like Siemens Gamesa. I believe this amendment would eliminate this opportunity for Virginia. The end result would be unintentionally bad for our environment and our economy. And I ask that we reject the amendments. And along those lines, I would say that 2.0, changing the cost cap to 2.0 times, or two times the cost of utility scale solar, is still too low. Solar as the baseline would ensure that no offshore wind project in Virginia gets built. The cap is lower than the cost of any offshore wind project that has been built in the world, and much lower than any project awarded in the United States. Also, if we're concerned about the cost cap is not the only cost control measure. There are 3 cost guardrails in this bill that should be viewed together, not just the cost cap. The cost cap's only one of these. The other 2 are a requirement for competitive procurement and involvement of companies experienced in offshore wind. These various control measures paint the comprehensive picture of how we get a cost-effective project. This is unintentionally going to harm our overall goals regarding wind and the industry for wind in Virginia. We have the opportunity to grow this economy, to grow this business in amazing ways. Industry has already begun doing that. They've already begun laying that footprint here in the Commonwealth. They need to hear from us and see that we are supportive of that. Putting poison pills in is not the way to do it. I hope that we reject these amendments, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Delegate from Prince William, Delegate Rome.
Madam Speaker, I have a motion. Can we just go at ease? Can we temporarily go at ease?
Do you have a motion?
Or I don't even know if that's a motion, but.
Okay. The House will be at ease.